about 2 weeks, it'll be the 2-year anniversary that I've been here in Washington State. It'll be 2.5 years since I've been with the Aquarium Co-Op in general, and in about 3 weeks, I will be moving back to Ohio. Now, Aquarium Co-op's going through a whole big re-maintenance and remodeling thing going on here. I don't really want to focus on that. I really want to focus on these tanks right here, the show tanks that I've been watching and just really been filming the past 2 years that I've been here. We'll start off with this 93-gallon tank, and next week I will do Murphy's tank, and the week after that we'll do Robert's tank. And yeah, let's talk about this tank and what I think about it. So the tank itself. It's a Marine Lab 93-gallon cube, powered by two Fluidball 3.0s, a C-Shape 50 canister filter, Aquatop 158 power head, and a little tiny pickle-looking mini pump that people tend to really love. It's just showing off how it works. You can see there it's using the Never Clog air stones by, I believe it's Zis. Let's talk about the hardscape and the plants. The tank is topped off with an Aquarium Co-op Super Sand that's been discontinued. You can find it at your local quarry or rock and mineral store. I believe it's called Lapis Luster 30. It's a little bit thicker than the 88 La Plata sand. I like it a little bit better in terms of like form and function. Back here we have just stacks of Dragonstone. Nothing too special about it, just stacked up so it sits in one spot. It's clunked up, but it actually has a function to it, and we'll talk about that later. Back here we have two pieces of just spiderwood that's just been chewed raw by whatever plecos that has been in there. And let's talk about the plants. In the middle there, which is the most noticeable, is the Anubias Nana Petite. It's been covered with a little bit of black hair algae, but the way it just grows in clumps and chunks like that, it's just really cool. In front here, the second noticeable plant is the Tiger Lotus. The Tiger Lotus is nice red. It keeps low like this in this tank. I've seen it reach all the way to the top a few times, but other than that, it just keeps really low. I really like the look of it. It's just like a nice little flower. You always see the little auto on top of it, or the Siamese algae just cleaning away at it. It's like really fluffy, so I think that's why they like it so much. This tank used to be used to farm Vesuvius, but now it's just a show tank. When you walk into the store, that's one of the first things you see when you look directly straight into the back of the store. Up front here we have the Cricklin Deadeye, some Amazon swords here. I believe that is either a red flame sword or some sort. And up front we have a carpeting plant. It's not really carpeting, but right here you can see that it just covers the ground pretty well. It's called the Crypt Parva. Rarely seen other tanks with it. I've never grown it myself, but just seeing the way it grows like this, I might want to try it out in the future. Now let's talk about fish and functionality. This is another favorite topic of mine because it's the fish that really make the tank. You have a lot of hiding spaces, like I told you about with the Dragonstone, how it just stacked up like that. So there's bristlenoses in here, and they've made a lot of babies. And there's some big Siamese algae eaters here, some green neon Tetras, some Florida flagfish that seems to be doing well, which is really weird because I know them to be a very aggressive fish. I've seen them chase around the rainbow kamaka a few times. Which, speaking of, there's a kamaka right there, right in plain view, and a lonely single little neon dwarf rainbow fish. Now this tank is going to be restocked, and Corey just wants it redone. Don't know really the reason why. It's just been like this for 2 years and just looks good to me. So back here you'll see a bunch of autos just lined up against the pre-filter sponge that's back there. That doesn't seem like it's been cleaned in a long time because it's hard to get to. We have some hiding kamakas back here because Nick tried to get in there with a net and try to catch a few customers. The Siamese algae eating fish, there's a really giant one and a little bunch of babies here and there. Not from him, but just placed in here just to clean the whole tank out. Functionality is just really great. The tank just takes care of itself. All the workers really need to do is pretty much wipe the front of the tank and do a little algae scrubbing with the demo that we have up here. So let's have Caitlin talk a little bit more about it and tell us what she thinks and how she maintains the tank on a daily basis.
So as long as I've been coming into the shop, I can remember this tank being here. A lot of the times when you first walk in the door, the tank's there to grab your eye, but I've actually always kind of liked this tank. I feel like of all our display tanks, it's the one that was usually the most overlooked. People like the Cardinal tank up there, or they like to feed Murphy up here. But this tank has a lot of really cool fish in it. Some of my favorites, actually. It's got my favorite aquarium plant in it, actually. So it's kind of a little known secret about this, and maybe Jimmy will get the B-roll for it later, but my favorite plant is this boost down here. This is a Godzilla boost. So I really like the Godzilla because it kind of has a purpley red to it. It's a relatively affordable boost. It's probably, probably the third most common one out there that I've seen in shops and stuff like that. I think it adds nice contrast to something like the dirt green and the Anubias we have here. We're in the middle of redoing this tank. As you can see, there's kind of just like a hodgepodge of plants in there. What this tank used to be about 2 years ago, it was a Valsenaria kind of growing tank. And so you had Valsenaria on the sides and on the front here, over that way as well. Recently, we were growing some different types of pogo stemens in here, but they really like crowded the front of the tank. And I think part of the allure of this tank is you can see it from so many angles. And so from this side, you could see the dragonstone, and from the front, it just creates nice depth and a nice texture too. And I feel like the really tall plants in front, it really hid that, and I didn't like it. So we're gonna be coming in with, going back to what it was originally, we're gonna be getting this nice Vesuvius in there. It's a nice texture plant, and I think it goes along great with the dragonstone or Oko stone that we have in here. Speaking of the dragonstone, I'm sure Jimmy might have told you already, but we had a bunch of baby bristlenose that actually, they spawned in there. So we have them probably around that big, but no one even knew for the longest time that they were in there because there's so many nooks and crannies back there. We don't even know how many of them are in there. So if you're looking for something to add a nice texture, depth, and maybe like caves, that's what I used the dragonstone at home for. Pick up some of that stuff. So on a daily basis, basically what I do in here, every day I feed this tank. I give it about 2 cubes of Cyclops. We had a little bit more fish in there a second ago, so that was gone pretty fast. Recently, since we had all the baby bristlenose in there, I've been giving them some algae tablets and I've been kind of dropping it in the back here so they can kind of scrounge around the dragonstone and find it. I can see that they've been enjoying it a lot. They all get all around on the algae wave. It's pretty fun to watch. We use this mag float here with the scraper blade. That's the important part there. And I use that to actually get all around the sides, the front here. It's super fast and easy. We gotta watch out for the Murphy cam when we're cleaning. We gotta make sure we don't bump that, or you guys' vision of Murphy will be kind of messed up a little bit there. The pothos we gotta get sometimes up in here, trim off any kind of bad leaves. I'm sure there's a couple on there right now, but we gotta kind of keep an eye on that. We do top it off probably around once a week or so. It drops down a little bit, so we just kind of bring it back up. We just use our hose for that.
Is there anything different you would do to it? Like just real quick, in 30 seconds, what would you do to change that tank if you had the power to today?
I really like the Anubias clump up front. Anubias and Boostes, those are my favorite plants. I really like the way they look. I think the Anubias looks great on the dragonstone. So if I could like kind of make this my dream tank, I would cover like clumps of that section with the Anubias and Boosts, and I would get like a nice green slope, almost like the hills here in the Pacific Northwest. They get covered with moss, and I really like the way that looks. I think it makes a very, very attractive and relaxing type of aquascape. So off the top of my head, I would load this thing up with Anubias Nana Petite, maybe some cool Boostes in there. Like I said, I love the Vesuvius, so I'm all about Robert's plan to bring the Vesuvius tank back.
All right, that's it. Thank you very much.
Video 2 in a day.
Yeah, serious. So all in all, what do I think about this tank? I think it's slightly awesome. It could do with a little bit more rainbows. Having said that, there were more rainbows in here. I believe they just passed away from age, or they've been sold. There were pea puffers in here as well. The stocking I would do a lot different. The whole tank itself I would do a lot different. With the cube, there's so much you can do in terms of depth and everything. But I give this tank 1 thumbs up out of 2. I know that's not much, but thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you guys stick around for the whole series and have a good one.